they're like always having that weird look, and they always have the intrigue, because they don't see that product they've never seen it before. So I think that is what makes us the design aspect of it. In terms of the technology, there's a lot of motorcycles out there that has the same or better technology, meaning motors and suspensions and battery and so forth, right? But I think how you put it together and how you organize it and how you design it and how you make people feel when they're on it is what make our product different.
How many iterations of the product that you have to go through before you set it on the current product?
I'm sorry. What was that?
I'm just wondering how many iterations, because you're very focused on design and comfort, and there's a lot of moving pieces there, right? So I would assume
in terms of we created a concept prototype first. That was a couple years ago, and that went through, I don't know, I remember he was telling me it went through several iterations, but this prototype production that we created, I think it went through a lot. I don't remember. You would have to ask him that, or I would have to ask him that. But every component of the bike went through different iterations. You know what I mean? So it's not just the bike itself, but just this one connection of the wheel, for example. Or the placement of the suspension of the shocks in the back, and how much it changed from in terms of angles and in terms of degree of difficulty and or the degree of comfort and so forth. So it's I think it's I would say hundreds of iterations.
Whoa.
When you design something like this. Usually, when you, from my research, when you design a new product, an automotive, a car, for example, from pens and from paper and pencil all the way to a prototype, it usually take about 3.5 years,
wow.
Right?
Wow.
But a motorcycle is less complicated. So what I found was that it would take about 2.5 years for a motorcycle. So that's kind of where we took us like a year, a little bit over a year to build one, because we already built an electric motorcycle, the concept one, so that helped. I think that took him about a year, less than a year, to put together. It's not refined at all. It's just a concept, meaning that it just slapped together. It just like put together. There's still little gaps here and there, but it's just screwed on. But the design overall look of it is done, and it looks pretty badass. But it wasn't made for production and so forth. So when you design something for production, it's completely a different mindset or a different approach to to how you do it. So that's why it takes longer. So our production prototype took about a year to be completed. Yeah. So, in some respect, we're still, because we're testing it and we're still sort of, running on the road and, measuring the performance of it. And still some changes that we're still making. We just changed the handlebars the other day, as an example. So yeah, there's still updates and changes that we're doing right now.
So in many Western countries, in the US and in Scandinavia as well, where electric vehicles have been around for a long time, right? It's still a pretty divisive issue. There are some groups who say, I'm never gonna drive anything electric, and then there are other groups who say that this is the future. So who's your target audience? Is it mostly young people, or mostly like how prepared and accepting are people towards just the idea of driving an electric motorcycle?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's the younger generation. We get a lot of, the older generation, like, my age, our age, we are more tactile in a way that, we like that sound. And I still appreciate that sound, the sound of the motorcycle when it's unique in its own way. So when I realized that this is silent, it's like, oh, it's kind of weird. But I think the younger generation more appreciate that.